This is the second video of the series about working with mapping sets. Today we will focus on making modifications to existing mappings and creating a new mapping set. Let's start with modifying this mapping set here. There are two mappings here that are incorrect, this one and this one. This one is a mapping from SNOMED-CT to ATC, and this is from SNOMED-CT to a local code system. Let's change the target. To do this, I just highlight the line, right-click it to bring up the context menu, and then select Remove Target of Selected Mapping. I could also remove the entire mapping, which would mean that the source and the target would be removed, so the mapping would be completely gone, or inactivate a mapping this way. But now I just want to remove this one here. See, now it's empty, and I can find a new target in ATC. Let's look for diclofenac. And I would like to have this code. So I just highlight the code in the view and then just simply drag it into the editor, and now it's mapped, so it's quite simple. You could also just overwrite the content. I will show you it was this one here. Restaurant Manager was mapped also to the wrong target, and that's a local code system. So let's go to local code system and look for Restaurant Manager. Here it already is. So you can simply just take the code and drag it into the editor here and override it. And since you're changing content, you're supposed to confirm it. Yes, I want to change the mapping target. Okay, and now it's mapped to Restaurant Manager. So these are the two ways of changing the mapping. Let me just show you how to inactivate one. Let's inactivate this mapping. Inactivate, so then it's gone because only the active mappings are shown. And if I click the button here that shows the inactive mappings, then it's here again. And we can also activate it the same way. Okay, and save the changes. Whenever there are unsafe changes, you will see a little star here that shows you that you should change. We can also change the properties of a mapping set quite easily by simply adding content or overriding content. So I could change the definition, SNOMED-CT to ATC, LOINC, Local Code Systems, ICD-10, and then change this again, this. These three fields here are mandatory, so if you're trying to remove it, you will get an error. So it's validated that you have these three mandatory fields. The other ones are optional. You can also inactivate the entire mapping set here by selecting inactive from the drop-down menu. So much about changing existing content. Now let's create a new mapping set, which I can do down here in the view. This button brings up the wizard where I have to specify the mandatory fields. If you wanted to create a mapping set in a particular folder, you can also just go to the folder, right-click, and then add a new mapping set, and then it will be located in this folder. Let's create one that is called diabetes, and it should be an ICD-10 to SNOMED-CT mapping, and the source is BTI Healthcare. Finish, yes. And here is the new mapping set in the folder that I selected, and the new mapping set is empty. So you can now enter a source term and then find a target, or you can just enter all of the source terms first and then do the mapping later. Let me show you how you enter some terms. So let's look for, this is ICD-10, diabetes. And you can enter a member, you can add a member just by simply selecting it and then dragging it into the mapping set editor. This also works with the context menu, where you can just add the selected concept, or you can also add a whole part of the branch. So if I wanted to add all of these, I could do that. Another option is to use the advanced search, which would be here. I need ICD-10. Let's look for diabetes and see what comes up. Now I have all search results down here in the search view, and I could also again just take one and drag it up in here. This is actually one that is already there. This is why I get this information, so you can't add the same term twice. I could also press the Control or the Command button on Mac and then select several results and then move them in. Or with Control A or Command A, you select all of these 23 results that I found here, and then I simply just drag them into the mapping set, and 2 of them are already here. This is why. Okay, now I have my 23 members, and I can start mapping. And this works pretty much the same as I already showed you. So I need to go to SNOMED CT view. By the way, you can just move these views wherever you want to. This is why I have the SNOMED CT view on the right side, because it's a bit more convenient. So you can customize it the way you want. And let's look for the first term, which would be abnormal glucose tolerance test. Here is already the term that I'm looking for. If you wanted to take a closer look at this concept, just double click it. This opens the editor where you can see all the information about it, so you can verify this is indeed what you're looking for. You can see where it's located within the hierarchy, and then you just take the term and you move it into the empty spot. You don't have to do this in the order. You can also like map this one. Here, this one, and I just move it in here. You just have to make sure you select the correct line. When you have this line, the circle around the line, then you know this is where it's dropped. Okay, and then once you're done, you just save the mapping set, and that's it. And in the next video, we'll talk about how you can export and import mapping sets and how you can version them. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye bye.